Today we're going to be using word problems to solve line plot questions. So we're going to look at numbers 1 through 4. Number 1, how can you find the difference between the greatest amount and the least amount of salt left? Well, let's look. My greatest amount looks to be 1 and 1/2. Because that amount falls between 1 and 2, I know that is halfway there. So the numbers that I'm looking at are 1 and 1/2 and the least amount of salt, so that would be 4. So the problems I'm going to say is, I'm going to use my groupers, 1 and 1/2 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 minus 4 times 2. And the reason I'm using my parentheses, my grouping symbols, is because I don't want it to look like one giant problem. So I'm going to group off my steps to show this is my step 1. This is my step 2. I'm going to make sure my brain can see these are separate steps within the same problem. Now, number 2 says write a problem that can be answered using the line plot. We just figured that out in number 1. So we're going to answer the problem. So 1 1/2 times 7 minus 4 times 2. Now, I can't multiply 1 1/2 times 7 the way it is because I need to turn 1 1/2 back into a fraction first. So multiply, then add. 2 times 1 is? Yeah. Plus 1 is? Yes, it's 3. So 3/2 times 7 over 1 gives me 21/2. How many times will 2 go into 21 without going over? How many times will 2 go into 21 without going over? It's 10, because 2 times 10 is 20. So 20/2 minus 4 times 2 is 8. And I can technically say 0/2 because it just helps my brain see there's no fractional piece there. 0 is just a really good placeholder to show there is nothing there, right? So I can now subtract. 20 minus 8 is? How far is 8 from 20? You're right. It's 12. It's 12. And 1/2 minus 0/2 is still 1/2. So the difference between the greatest amount of rainfall, or greatest amount and least amount of salt left, is 12.5 grams. And you can abbreviate, you can shorten grams to just G, little g. 20.5 grams. Write and solve an equation that represents the total number of grams of salt left. So if I'm looking for the total number,
so do not play for high school games tonight. All games have been canceled for tonight.
I'm sorry, excuse the announcement. So total means to do what? Add, subtract, multiply, or divide. Total means to add. To add it all up. Now, sometimes it can mean multiply. So I have to be careful and look for the context of the problem. That's where word problems get tricky with 5th graders. So I'm looking for the total number of grams. So I will be multiplying my values by however many there is in the frequency, how many times they happen, but I have to add it all up at the end. So I already know I have 1 1/2 times 7 plus 4 times 2 plus, where's my next value? Where is that next value located? Let's look. Do I have anything at 6? Nope. What is this area between the two whole numbers called again? Right, half. So between 6 and 7 lies 6 and 1/2. How many 6 and 1/2s do I have? How many 6 and 1/2s do I have? Yeah, it's 3. And then my last value is 7. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Did I go too far? Let's double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I went too far. So I know that multiply, then add, because from my top up here, that's 3 1/2 times 7. And that gives me 21/2 plus 4 times 2 is 8 plus, keep it going, multiply, then add. 6 times 2 is, right, it's 12. 12 plus 1 is, yeah, it's 13. So 13/2 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 1 is 3. 2 times 1 is 2. What is 7 times 5? What is 7 times 5? You're right, it's 35. Way to go, math magicians. Now, I am going to add my like terms, so I'm going to add my whole numbers first, and then go back and grab those fraction pieces. Because to me, that makes the most sense in my brain. But to you, you may want to just add it straight through. And if you can do that, more power to you. But I like to combine my like terms. That's a skill I'm going to have to use in higher math. So 8 plus 35, so 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43. I get 43 plus 1 plus 9 is 0. Add my 1. 3 plus 2 is 5, plus 1 is 6. 60/2. How many times will 2 go into 60? Or another way to say it, what is 60 divided by 2? You're right. It's 30. That one took us a minute. So 43 plus 30 is 73. And because it's a word problem, I have to say 73 grams total. I have to be able to say it is a total amount. Last one. How many grams of salt would be left if 2 of each container were used?